Good morning and welcome to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1. It is Wednesday, the 30th of August.
A little bit
Got those
nippy.
September blues coming.
It sure does. On the show, we are baking apples and hosting rap battles. So yes, lots to get into. It's going to be a busy old show.
Are we going to make you do a rap battle? He's already going, no, not doing it. Not me, not me.
Not me.
There is one very big thing happening today. Thousands of students across the country, they are going to be receiving their first round CAO results today. It's a nervous day. No one knows where the points are going to land. We're going to be exploring the less conventional routes available to people across the country, and you can let us know how things are going in your house. There's thousands of people like you right now. 0896 111 111, and we wish everyone the best.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Look at us. We went the unconventional route, and what could go wrong? But,
Go the other way.
absolutely.
Go the other way.
Everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. Now, also, we're going to be chatting to a former footballer about his campaign, 1 year, no beer.
Plus, we'll be talking baby prenups. What's a baby prenup, you say? So basically, you make your partner sign an agreement on who does what ahead of your newborn.
Before the baby's even born.
Before it's even a human. Before it's here and like making any sound, you're like, you know what? I think you're going to do the washing on a Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
To define roles.
I have no idea. We'll find out a little bit later on. You can let us know what you think about a baby prenup. These are real things. It's 0896 111 111.
Actually signing it. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Let us know what you think.
It's not legal, surely. Anyway.
They are becoming legal. Alan, what else is coming up on the show?
That's a load of nonsense. Nonsense!
Thank you.
Now, we've loads more for you on the show. Our gardening guru is here to inject some colour into your outdoor areas, and we're cooking up a classic crumble with Edward Hayden in the kitchen. I hope he brings some custard. Now, Derek is out and about in Wicklow today. What are you going to get up to, Derek?
Good morning, Al. We're live just outside Blessington down here in the Garden County this morning. Dry start. Still some overnight showers skirting up around northern northwestern areas out there today with rain in through parts of the west by mid-afternoon later on this Wednesday. But Russborough House just over my shoulder, guys, and following an absence of almost 100 years, would you believe all 8 paintings have been restored to the Vernay room? So we're going to be taking you on a tour of that later on this morning. Well, you know we're somewhere posh. I've got the quilted jacket on.
There we go. Bit of culture this morning for us all, Derek. Yes, all very cultured.
Culture vulture.
Yes,
absolutely.
there we go. Thank you. Looking forward to that. That's coming up a little later on. But now let's go over to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Aisling Roche.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning. 3 people have died, including an infant boy, in a crash near Cashel, County Tipperary last night. The single-car collision happened shortly before 9 p.m. when the car hit a wall in the Windmill Knocknabullig area. A man and a woman who were rear-seat passengers were pronounced dead at the scene. An infant boy also died in the crash. The male driver and female front-seat passenger of the car have been taken to Tipperary University Hospital, where their condition is described as serious. Garda forensic collision investigators will examine the scene today. An incident room has been set up at Kerr Garda Station. We'll find out today how many new TDs in the country will get a seat in the next election. The much-anticipated review of constituency boundaries could see between 11 and 21 new seats created in the Dáil. Our political correspondent Gavin Riley explains what the report is about.
The report due this morning from the Electoral Commission will reveal not only how many TDs there will be in the next Dáil, but also the constituencies that will be created so that they can represent them. This has been prompted by the most recent census, which showed that the population of Ireland has now surpassed 5 million, and it's increased by almost 400,000 in the last 6 years. And because the Constitution requires there to be at least 1 TD for every 30,000 people in the country, that means there will have to be at least 11 more TDs created in the next Dáil. But it could be as high as 21. And of course, creating more TDs positions also means having to revise the constituencies that are already there, which means that quite a few people who ordinarily work in Leinster House will be looking on very nervously to see exactly which geographical area they might be representing and whether they'll gain or lose votes in the boundaries being moved.
Gavin Riley reporting there. Thousands of students across the country will receive their CAO college course offers today. Concerns have been raised about inflated grades again this year, which could result in some students missing out on their top course choice.
Over 84,000 people applied to the CAO this year, hoping to start the next chapter in their education and lives. Another year of inflated grades will result in similar trends to last year, according to academics. Around half are expected to get their first course choice when offers are issued this afternoon, while around 80% are likely to get one of their top 3 preferences. However, in some high points courses, universities will have to use random selection to determine who gets in, despite hundreds of extra places being made available. Students from previous Leaving Cert years, mature students and those from further education colleges are also vying for places. Meanwhile, there are concerns about the availability of student accommodation across the country. Some students fear that even if they get the course they want, securing a place to live could prove the most difficult challenge. First round CAO offers will be released online from 2 p.m. and must be accepted or rejected by September 5th. Trish Laverty, Virgin Media News.
Russia has reported a night of drone attacks on its territory ranging from the south to the northwest. Its military says it shot down Ukrainian drones over several regions. In recent weeks, Ukraine has increased its use of attack drones. Meanwhile, Russia said its forces destroyed 4 Ukrainian military boats carrying up to 50 soldiers in the Black Sea. Extremely dangerous Hurricane Idala is forecast to become a Category 4 storm as it barrels towards Florida. Residents are preparing for the major hurricane to hit the state in the coming hours. It'll likely impact a lightly populated area of the Gulf Coast before crossing the peninsula and drenching parts of Georgia along with the Carolinas. Residents have been evacuated from homes in low-lying areas.
This is going to be a major hurricane, likely a Category 3, and where it's scheduled to hit along this big bend, and we've not really had a hurricane strike this area for a long time. I think you got to go back to the 1800s before you would see a path like this.
On-site drug checking will be available at Electric Picnic again this year. The HSE says 5 surrender bins will be provided at the festival where people can deposit drugs for analysis. Alerts can then be issued to festival goers if high-strength substances or new drugs are detected. 70 trained volunteers will also be on hand to provide harm reduction services, support and information. Now here's Derek with a first look at all your weather.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
Thanks, Ash, and a very good morning. We're live down here just outside Blessington in County Wicklow. Russborough House is where we're at this morning. We're going to be taking you on a tour of the Vernay room with all 8 paintings restored back to the room for the first time in almost 100 years. So that's all to come later on this morning at 8:45. Now, we're on to Wednesday morning. Let's take a look weather-wise at how it's shaping up with Conan Doyle with us on cameras once again. And it is a dry and settled start. We're seeing the remnants of some overnight showers still hit parts of the northwest into West Fermanagh there and just north of Drumshambo in County Leitrim. But elsewhere, many dry and settled, good deal of cloud covers, some limited bright breaks on the breakfast menu now, and there's light to locally moderate westerly winds. Now, right across today, in fact, if you are getting any brightness, make the most of it because it will fade across today. By mid-afternoon, we're talking rain then rolling in through parts of the West Connacht and the southwest in particular. So that'll put a kibosh on any outdoor plans later on today. Top temps fresher and cooler out there this Wednesday too at 15 to 18 degrees. And into tonight then, as that system of showers feeds across Connacht and into Munster, that will continue to push across the country, landing through the northeast, in fact, as we edge our way into dawn Thursday morning with overnight lows back to around 7 to 12 degrees. So that's how we're shaping up here in a dry and settled Blessington. Down in County Wicklow at the moment. We'll be back again live at 10:35.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's paper, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline, "No decision on long-term RTE funding until 2024, says Martin. This comment came as the station published plans for 3 separate registers for staff and presenters, covering interests, outside activities, as well as gifts received.
Age limit for Gardaí to be scrapped for new recruits. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The 35-year-old age limit will be significantly increased under radical proposals aimed at attracting more members to the force.
Moving to the Herald, it also covers the same story with time to call in the old guard.
The Examiner leads with subsea cable security threat to EU. Ireland's failure to protect critical cables poses a heightened level of threat from hostile states, not just domestically, but also from EU and NATO.
Crackdown on teacher influencers promoting in classroom. That's the top story on the Daily Mail. It's emerged that a number of teachers with large social media followings had accepted payments to promote brands and film content in schools. Minister Norma Foley urged the Teaching Council to remind teachers to avoid potential conflicts of interest.
Now, the Mirror goes with man, woman and child killed in horror smash. 3 people died last night in another single vehicle road tragedy outside Cashel, just 4 days after 4 young people died on Leaving Cert results night.
The Star and the Sun also lead with this terrible, tragic story today. Just can't imagine what's going on. Not just the people of Tipperary, of course, but everyone around the place. 20 minutes down the road from Clonmel. And this happened yesterday.
Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking again. And unfortunately, another horrible incident on the streets and roads in Ireland, you know. And it's been a really bad run. And our condolences go to everybody in the area and, of course, in all of Tipperary.
Absolutely, all the family involved. We'll be back with you on Ireland AM very shortly. Welcome back now with the first round of CAO offers due to be released today. Thousands of prospective college students are waiting at home. I'm sure, I don't know, they might have gone out last night just to forget about it all.
Probably did.
Yeah.
Now here to discuss the alternative routes available to people, whether that's third level education or just diving straight into the world of work. Our guidance counsellor Donegal O'Mahony, makeup artist Kaylee Cashel and author and journalist Amanda Brunker. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good to see you.
Donegal, can we start with you and tell us how the CEO offers work today? What's going to happen today?
So around 2 o'clock today, students will get an offer. They'll get an email or a text message to say you've got an offer of a university course on the CEO list that you made. Now that offer mightn't be the top one on your list. If you filled it out 1 to 10, it could be anywhere between 1 to 10, depending on if you met the entry requirements and you got the points. If you don't get an offer today, you'll get emailed what's called a statement of application. And it's just the CEO saying, have we got all your personal details correct? Has anything been omitted? Is there an issue with your application? If so, we can rectify it and maybe then get an offer in round 2.
OK, so when is round 2? Because if someone doesn't get what they were hoping for today, what are the next steps? Round 2 and then other options?
Yeah, so round 2 is basically places that weren't filled in round 1. So about 98% of college courses are filled in round 1. Now, students will have about
8%.
About that, yeah. Students have about 6 days to accept their course offer. Now, some students don't accept the offer for a number of different reasons. And then those places are put into round 2, 3, 4, right up to round 5 by the 5th of October. So that's your CAO options. But then there's loads of options outside the CAO as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then people then just make a decision on something like this. And Kaylee, you're in this position because you didn't get the points that you wanted or the offer that you wanted.
Yeah.
So you did a short course and then you just went, what did you do then? Tell us about your experience.
So I spent my whole 6th year building a portfolio. Basically, I wanted to get into art college and I ended up not getting the points on my portfolio or with the Leaving Cert combined. So I went and did a 1-year course and I went straight into working on a makeup counter, and that's where I truly felt like I learned everything. I really honed my craft. But it's funny because if I look at it now, if I had gotten the points that I wanted, I would have still been in college by the time I'd done all this amazing things and started, building a name for myself. So it's just funny how things turn out. Yeah.
Like, you must look back, because I know for a lot of people they say what's for you won't pass you by.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people believe in that. Is that something for you? Because look at the brand you've built. Like, you've gone global in relation to that.
100%. I definitely think that. And I remember thinking back, even when I didn't get the points, obviously you're a little bit disappointed because you're after putting in all this work, but I really do think what's for you won't pass you. So for me, it was kind of like, right, on to the next thing. Then I know what I want to do. I knew I wanted to go into makeup. I knew I wanted to go into something that was creative. So it was just a different path.
No regrets whatsoever. Isn't that amazing then?
Yeah.
And Amanda, you'd no education at all.
Swear to God, Amanda. I was sitting there waiting for him.
I was in a bush school. We used to be taught on pieces of stone, and we used to scrape our name on a tablet.
No,
you
just left because you wanted to enter Miss Ireland, so you left before your leaving cert.
Well, no, I didn't. What happened was I had started modelling when I was 15, and it was just a handy way of making a few quid. And then I literally won Miss Ireland, but I was supposed to be going into 6th year, and I was like going, uh-oh, oops, I didn't mean to win the bloody thing. And it kind of changed the trajectory of my entire life. And I must admit, I feel so sorry for the young people now at the moment, because there's huge pressure on them. And it's just, and that all, you know, having to decide the rest of your life. Yeah. You know,
today,
it's
by that offer,
it's monumental. You have 6 days. You know, it's like, I'm 49. I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. So parents need to be mindful to try and help their children, you know, take the pressure off them, because as my mother would say, there's more than one ways to skin a cat. And, you know, college is great for some people, but it's not for everybody. So if your child doesn't get their points, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't.
Well, can I ask you then about your 2 boys? Are you pressuring them to go into college?
Of course I am.
Yes, there you go. So, like, you're saying it with one hand, but you actually want your 2 boys to get college.
But Alan, there is college an awful lot of the time, most of the time, is the easiest way to achieve your goals. Like, let's be honest, it is the easiest way. It's not the only way. I've done quite well for myself. I'm quite lucky. I'm not recommending everybody win a beauty competition and then, you know, hopefully the rest of your life will work out. But
so achievable.
So achievable.
So achievable. It is so easy.
But the thing is, there are loads of ways to get to your goals. And I think street smarts and common sense will really account for a lot, because you would think common sense is quite common, but it ain't.
Because it's kind of what you did did involve you thinking an awful lot, whereas when you kind of get your college course done, okay, it's like, oh, okay, my life is kind of planned out for the next couple of years if you decide to stick with it. But there are so many other ways now, like PLC courses, post-leaving cert courses, and apprenticeships. People, like, the country's crying out for apprenticeships. So what's going on with those 2 situations?
So PLCs to me is like a transition year rather than transition year itself, because you're going from secondary to 3rd level. It's generally a 1-year course. Some of them can be 2 years. The reason you'd go into a PLC, either A, you want to go into the world of work, or B, you want to use your qualifications to apply to university again if you want. Now, most people who do a PLC statistically are more likely to graduate from university if you've done that PLC, because they equip you with the skills needed to succeed at university.
Transition area,
So I know loads of people have done PLCs. Not one of them has ever said, God, I really regret doing that. They really love the year that they had.
But do you have to have applied for it now, or can you take your time now today to go, OK, maybe I'll do a PLC?
You can still apply for a PLC. So the PLC is working. When it's full, it's full. If it's open, keep applying. There's no particular deadline like the CAO. So people will have applied for PLCs already. They'll probably get an offer today. We'll take the offer, and a PLC place will even open up again for anybody who hasn't applied for one. And then your apprenticeships are earn as you learn, and they've really come on in the last few years. Yes, you had your blue-collar apprenticeships, your plastering, your electrician, your construction, all of those. But now you've got recruitment, science, engineering, hairdressing, loads, auctioneering even. And they can provide a level 8 degree, the same as a university degree. So you could get a level 8 degree in recruitment, which is 3 years, and you're paid for the 3 years. So say, with the cost of living at the minute, if students can't afford to go to university, this might be a brilliant way. Or as the girls are saying, they learned in different ways. Does on-the-job work suit you better for learning than, say, going into a lecture hall to learn?
Yeah, it's like, Kaylee, you did your apprenticeship, like, because you literally had to go in and you started on the ground, and that's what you did. It was an apprenticeship. But do you ever look back and think, I missed out on those couple of years that I could have had a great college life? Do you the same, Amanda? Do you think? No?
Not really. I still had fun. I got to go out with my college friends, my friends when they were in college, so I didn't miss out on that.
You were still earning the few bob, though.
That was it, yeah, exactly. So that's, 100%. I think, like I said, everything happens for a reason, and I think I'm very happy with how everything has ended up.
But that is important. I suppose a lot of people are going, oh, I'm not going to mightn't be with my friends today, because people are. It is important that you were like, no, we were all still grand.
Yeah.
Everything was fine.
Yeah, and like that, like, you can meet up with your friends or whatever. I met my own friends then again through my job then, so it's like you'll always cross paths.
When I was leaving school, there was very few opportunities. There was now I think there's so much more open for young people. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start a business, there's so many supports that are out there. But I suppose if you're a self-starter, you'll be fine. Like, so nobody ever asked me to write a book.
No, that's what I was just about to say to you. But I meant to say, like, say if you didn't win the Miss Ireland at that stage, did you have a plan?
Not at all. I hadn't a clue what I was going to do. Like, I mean, I wanted to be a zookeeper, a television presenter, and God, you know the way they ask you to pick 3 things you'd like to do. I'm like, going, I haven't a clue.
But Virgin Media, can we get that? Amanda's good, great. I will have you in Dublin Zoo game.
I would love that. Still, I would actually love that.
But there is an issue here, and I think there's a lot of people at home, quickly, Donncha, about obviously grade inflation is a thing that is very real in Ireland, and there has been, and then there's people who deferred last year their courses to do it this year for whatever reasons they couldn't get accommodation. Is that going to have a knock-on effect today in relation to points?
It's not really, because the points, with the grade inflation, they matched it to last year's scores and even 2021 scores. So it shouldn't have a huge knock-on effect. Okay. Just on the deferrals, if anybody's thinking about deferring today, don't accept your course. First thing is, don't accept it. Contact the university straight away and say, I want to defer. Because if you accept it, they think you're going to start the course.
And that place is then taken away from someone else. Okay.
So that's a big one today.
Get on to the university. Don't accept it if you are going to defer, because there's a lot of people, there's accommodation issues everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. And just advice maybe for people who didn't get their first choices or their write down, advice for them today. What would you say to people maybe
chat to your parents, chat to your guidance counsellors, the National Parent and Leaving Cert helpline. The number is 1800 265 165, and they will give you all the advice you need if you're unsure what the next step would be, but just chat to people.
Chat to people, and Amanda's going to create a team of zookeepers. That's what I want to happen next.
This will be me next year. I'm absolutely terrified. I haven't a clue.
Amanda Donncha O'Mahony, who's a guidance counsellor, and of course, Kayleigh Cashel, founder of Cash Beauty. Thank you all so much for being with us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks.
Great to hear that. You know, just positivity on different ways to do things. Now, still to come, after a 6-hour board meeting yesterday, it was announced that Vera Pauw's 4 years as Republic of Ireland manager, the first person to get the team to a World Cup, it's coming to an end.
Yeah, we're going to have more on that, as well as other stories hitting the headlines in a few minutes.
Welcome back. Now, I don't know if you were watching this throughout the day yesterday, but despite leading the girls in green to their first ever World Cup this summer, it was announced last night, after something like a 4-hour meeting, Vera Pauw's contract as Republic of Ireland manager will not be renewed.
Joining us with that story and everything else this morning is the Communications Clinic, Lorcan Lyon, and joining him is Gavin Cooney from the 42.ie. Good morning to you both. Great to have you with us. We'll go to the back pages and front pages, as it is, on some of the papers this morning. Gavin, about Vera Pauw. Are you surprised that after, I think, 6 hours deliberation, that they made this decision that time was up for Vera?
I'm not, ultimately. I can understand that any kind of member of the public who just watched the World Cup casually and would follow the news fairly casually would think, hang on, she just got us to a World Cup. Why have they not renewing her contract? Surely she's the right person for the job. But behind the scenes, there had been whispers for a while of disquiet among the players with Vera about some of her tactics that they would see as, some players would see as overly defensive. And then we saw all these distractions around the World Cup, and they came home, obviously, with this dispute between Vera and Katie McCabe. So, you know, like Vera Pauw, I think, has a lot of support among the wider Irish public, but she didn't have enough support among her playing squad, and that constituency is the most important one in which you need support. So ultimately the FAI decided.
So she lost the dressing room, it looks like.
That would be the impression.
And this happens in World Cups. We've seen it in all sports, and we haven't really done well in World Cups. But you have to remember, she took a team that was well outside the world rankings to a World Cup, which everybody kept telling us was an amazing accomplishment in itself, because they're not a very strong team. They performed extremely well to get to the World Cup, did well at the World Cup. So has she not over-excelled with the team? And talk about not playing sexy football. I mean, really, is that what we're worried about?
Ireland doesn't play sexy football.
Yeah, I mean, she's done an outstanding job in qualifying Ireland for a World Cup. I don't think there's anyone in the world that would disagree with that. And if you're judging this on purely football and what Ireland have put out on the pitch up to now, she should have her contract extended.
But purely football's most important, surely.
Yeah, but then you have to, if she needs the support of the players going into the next campaign.
Do we see this in the men's game a lot? Because we're looking at what's going on with the Spanish the Spanish FA, and the fact that Rubiales, I know, but he still isn't gone, right?
Yeah.
So the action has been taken within the FAI very quickly, which is not something that we associate with the FAI taking swift and commanding action. Does it happen in all sports that you're kind of sitting there, you've lost the dressing room, you can't come back?
Yeah, I think it does, really. And it's happened, obviously, in the women's game, and it's happened in the men's game as well. I mean, they're famously, before the World Cup playoff in 2010, Ireland in Paris, it ended in the honorary handball. But beforehand, the players got around and basically said, listen, Trapattoni's too defensive, we're just going to go for this. And it almost worked out for them. So it has happened in both codes. But I think, that the players will ultimately be the most important constituency for any manager to have support in. And, it's a difficult decision for the FAI. I think they decided on the least worst outcome.
Least worst. Okay, listen, because I've been in rugby teams where the coach has gone before the players, but a lot of the times, listen, you represent your country, players just dig in, and that's like, listen, and she gave them a lot of tough love, which maybe didn't seem to go down too well either. And the worry is what's next, because obviously with Vera going, obviously a very good manager, she has her baggage, so which we've seen with the Houston Dash stories. Like, where do they go from here? Because that could be worrying.
Yeah, I mean, they have to get a new manager in. They're probably not going to get a permanent manager in time for the first 2 games in September in the New Nations League game, the first ever game at the Aviva against Northern Ireland at the end of September. So it looks like Aisling Gleeson, who's the head of women's football at the FAI, along with Tom Elms, who was Vera's assistant, they'll come in as on a temporary basis in September, and then maybe they'll get a permanent manager in from October onwards.
I'm just sitting here, like, we're talking about CAO people today, and it's like, you've done the best thing that's ever happened to this team, and you're still fired, Lorcan. I mean, there's no justice. Sport is tough.
Sport is tough, but I mean, the old cliche in politics is, Winston Churchill won the war and then lost the next election. So, there is that element of you don't make these decisions based on what they did, you're based on who's right for the next challenge, who's right for the future. And if you've lost the dressing room on a personal level as well as probably on a football level, it is going to be difficult. So I have a lot of sympathy for the situation. I think in the fullness of time, Vera Pauw is going to be remembered really, really well and really, really successfully as either building a foundation that we grew from, or, well, that was the pinnacle and that was great and we didn't appreciate it at the time. But you do need to look at what's coming next. I think also what's important for anything like this when it comes to player power is, what did the FAI listen to and what did they judge it based on? Because some of the things that we're reading in the papers today are issues like they didn't like that they felt that the new ones with American accents came in, perhaps were selected or were given an easier time. I don't think that's great. There's also ideas of selection. Players wanted more game time. Players are always going to want more game time. Not mad on those ones. But then there's also, like saying, we never practice corners. I mean, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
If you're a set-piece team and your entire model is whip it in, get a corner, try to get a goal, and you're not practicing, if I was a player, I'd be kind of saying, Vera, would we not? Would we maybe? Would we practice a corner?
That actually is really important as to what the parameters are.
It depends what the FAI listen to.
We'd love to hear from you today, because obviously it was so exciting to see what those women were able to do to follow them in the World Cup and getting there, and Vera as their manager. We'd love to hear what you think about it today. 0896 111 111. Gavin's going to stay with us and he's going to bring us a breakdown of what's going on in RT. Is that it? No, Lorcan. You were going to... What is going on?
He probably will. He probably will.
RT, they're on the front of the paper today. What's going on?
Gavin would be much better at these two stories than I would have been at explaining Vera Pauw. But RT staff earning more than €73,209, we're very specific, may have to file an annual register of interests, which is a new plan outlined, as well as a record for external activities and perhaps then even gifts. So there's going to be a register of interests, which is similar to what politicians have to do with SIPO, where they have to say, well, here's what I own and here's what I'm involved in, here's the companies I'm involved in, to see if there's any conflict there and that's all above board and transparent. There's also then going to be the external activities, which is you're chairing a gig, you're paying to promote a product.
You're emceeing, your hashtag AGS, your hashtag SP.
What are you doing outside of what you're doing for RT? Now, there's already protocols in place for RT where you have to get permission from your line manager to do anything. You have to, in writing say, I've been asked to do this, am I allowed? I don't think it will affect my impartiality. Yeah. So that's already there. It's been formalised. I would imagine it's been strengthened on the basis of what happened. So,
do you think they'll stop any gigs? Like, what would make RT decide, no, we don't think you should do that? Because these are contractors.
If they're all out there going,
time.
Virgin Media is great. They'll be like, no, lads, can't say that.
Obviously, there's certain things like that, but a lot of those partnerships that you see, a lot of the presenters and whatever have.
And look, the line is always going to be blurred, because almost anything you could say would affect impartiality, because it could, if a company is paying for it, or if, whatever is happening. So anything could, but then also anything couldn't. So where they draw the line is going to be difficult. I imagine they're going to draw it stringently enough for a period of time, because they do need to restore trust.
But if you compare it to, say, the BBC over in the UK, which is very strict on what they do, and their impartiality is massively important. So will it go that far?
That's the model that I think they're going to be moving towards, okay? I think basically the big fallout for people working in RT from all of this scandal is going to be, it's going to start feeling very different to work for RTE than it does to work for somebody else in the media. Where it's going to feel like a very different job, where you're not going to have as much freedom to do things.
But at the same time, one of the biggest stars of the BBC, Graham Norton, he's got his wines, he's got his books, like it still goes on. Claudia Winkleman, she does her hair, she does her CBD. It is something that happens as long as you tell them. That's fine. Who is earning €73,208? What I want to know, that they drew the line there. I'm like, who is not? Who
There'll
is
be new
telling?
salary requests coming in.
I was just about to say, I'd love actually 208.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, on the front of the Mail today, there's a crackdown on teachers, teacher influencers. What's this about?
Yeah, so there's a lot of teachers who have very, very big online followings.
We've had some of them here.
Yeah, because they do educational material, etc. But like anybody who's online, people will come to you and say, we'll give you a bit of cash if you do a hashtag ad and you put up a video about our product or about our area, whatever it might be. And so there's going to be a crackdown on that, because we're seeing TikTok videos, Instagram videos of teachers who are promoting products. Horse Race in Ireland were the one that made the headlines previously, where they asked them to teach in classes and to promote.
Sorry, so they were teaching about horse racing in classes, filming it with children?
And that's the big issue, I think, in one of the videos in particular, is that there were kids visible in the background, which, I mean, common sense wise, I mean, that shouldn't be allowed.
Shouldn't be allowed.
You're a teacher.
But listen, teachers are on their salary is something that we constantly discuss, and if they can have a little side hustle, and there's a lot of really talented and cool teachers out there doing TikToks, whatever else, bringing education and to kids and different. It's just having kids in the background.
I don't understand. Like, how are they promoting horse racing?
That's my thing. Saying horse racing is great to a bunch
the
of kids.
kids all on top of each other. So if you get on my back, there now, Kevin.
For a second, he was thinking about it.
Just happens in the news. Giddy up.
It's just a really interesting story about what's going on in classrooms, and 100% if teachers can have a side hustle, because we know that there are issues around pay there. But it's very interesting. I don't know what you make of that as a parent. 0896 111 111.
Thank you both for joining us on that story. Gavin Cooney from 42.E and Lorcan Knight from the Communications Clinic. Great to have you both with us.
Do it again.
Still to come, we are talking all things, not prenups, baby prenups. Would you sign a contract with your partner to decide who takes on what roles ahead of your newborn's arrival?
Gavin's out. He's
Let us know.
Come on.
0896 111 111.
Do you want us to remember this one?
The two lads are going to join us for that as well.
Back with you in just a few minutes.
Hi, you're very welcome back. A baby prenup, yes, you've heard that right, otherwise known as a baby nup, is an informal contract between parents-to-be that divides up responsibilities before newborn arrives.
We do this every day before Alan arrives into studio. We're like, okay, what are you dealing with today and what am I dealing with today? That's it. The new phenomenon is gaining traction within, where do you think? The US, with some legal companies now showing an interest. Here to discuss, our CEO of Parent Line, Aisling Hickey, alongside broadcaster Keith Walsh. Thank you both so much for being here. Never thought I'd see the day. What do you make of this idea of a baby prenup where two parents sit down and go, OK, so you'll do this and I'll do this and you'll do this and I'll do this?
And sign it.
You see, when I first heard about it, I kind of thought, oh my God, more kind of nonsense coming out of the US. But actually, it's not the worst idea I've ever heard. I mean, I don't like the terminology. First of all, a baby prenup doesn't make any sense, because that's a baby prenuptial. This clearly isn't that. This is just a pre-baby discussion that, can have legal standing or not, as to what parents are going to do once the baby's born in terms of their roles, the responsibilities, the guidelines they'll put in place. Having that conversation before you have a baby isn't the worst idea. And I'll tell you why, because most people give less thought to having a baby than they do to getting a dog or buying a car. And that's the truth of it. And actually, you know, we fall into that category. You know, I mean, I remember before we had kids, my husband would let me get a puppy, but he let me have 5 babies in the next 7 years. So, like, you know...
In fairness, well, there's a reason why.
My wife Suzanne never rang me up.
Matt Cooper, you have a dog.
You don't get that with a puppy.
We got the dog afterwards, but he said I could. Once he gave me the 5 babies, he said we could have the dog then.
You're ready now.
And we no doggy prenup either, by the way. But anyway,
5 babies in 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know, I mean, and maybe we could have had more conversations. But we obviously weren't having that many conversations. But we could have had more conversations about, you know, our roles and responsibilities in terms of when the baby arrives.
It is funny because if you're getting a dog, if the children want a dog, you're like, now you have to walk. We're not taking that on. You have to.
That's what I mean. It's
so
true.
You draw up the chores.
Who's going to feed the dog?
Who's going to walk? And then a week after you have the dog.
Yeah. I mean,
one person does all the walking and all the feeding and all the looking after, and the children are gone. So
I mean, the only thing that happened to us after each baby was born, the only rule that was set down was I never changed a nappy if Matt was in the house or within an hour of coming home. You know, so like in the house or in the vicinity of the house, yeah.
That was his job.
He was in charge of all nappies.
Now, if you told him that before and made him sign this, that if you're in the house, you're doing all the nappies, is that like
we might
Keith?
have
Would
had
you
5 children in the 7 years?
Yeah. Well, like, what's your take on it, Keith? This whole discussion and put down on pen and paper and signed.
It's like writing the instructions for a machine that hasn't been invented yet. You know, it's like the difference between. So I'm talking about first-time parents, right? So second-time parents, no one cares about the child. No. Okay, but the first-time parents, you're buying the buggy, you're buying the changing mat, you're buying everything's perfect. Yeah. The boogaboo, the thing, you know, everything. You know, by the second-time child, you're just like whatever you have.
By
so first time with the I tell you, you didn't even tell him you were pregnant.
You just said, go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Will you collect me? I'm in the hospital.
Will you order a taxi for me?
And I got a dog. But so the difference between pre-baby and post-baby is like it's like night and day. It's like going into the upside down and Stranger Things. Like you will not recognise yourself. You won't have slept. Your partner won't have slept. You won't recognise who you won't know who you are. Yeah. You won't know who your partner is. You won't know what this thing is. You won't know what to do with it. Any like agreement that you had pre-baby is totally like the prenup will be covered in vomit and old milk down at the bottom of a bag of things that nice things that you used to have before you had a baby, ready to go into the wash. But it's worthless.
The only thing is, what it does is it does give a bit of open conversation and discussion about, you know, this is something that we're taking on that we're going to have for the rest of our lives, and you know, just kind of, you know, looking towards the expectations you have. Now, those expectations might go out the window, as you say, and there has to be a bit of adaptability and flexibility like there is with all babies. But in terms of, you know, who's going to do this at the weekends and, you know, paternity leave, finances, because babies can be very expensive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just
should have
think...
been done probably 8 months before.
That's what we're saying, but it should be done when you're thinking of having the baby.
We're not having these conversations anyway.
I think what Keith said, it was a friend of mine once said to me, you know, that pre-marriage course?
Yeah, that's what I think.
She said it was so unbelievable. She was like, I'm not Catholic, all this kind of stuff. She said it was so beneficial because that person brought up things that she hadn't even thought about. And she said it really did lay a good foundation for having children.
Because what the
to
pre-marriage
talk about.
course
People don't have those conversations.
They don't. You're never
the
going to.
pre-marriage course does things like, you know, says, will you be having, you know, a joint bank account and blah, blah, blah. So again, with babies, it's, you know, who takes over the, you know, if you're both, you know, if you don't have a joint bank account and if you're both working, where does the financial burden lie? You know?
Hold on. So are we both kind of in agreement here that a baby nup is the right way then?
I don't think he's actually in agreement.
No, I don't. I mean, I think these are conversations we should be having anyway. And if you're not, you shouldn't have a dog or a baby or a car or a house. Like you have to. Like,
but we are saying having the conversation is the right thing to do, but maybe just not put it in paper.
But if you're in a relationship with somebody, you have a conversation about mortgage, money, all the time. You share bank accounts, you talk about what you're doing at the weekend. The baby arriving shouldn't really make it any different in that, like, when the baby arrives, then you're like, OK, well, look, we're hopefully having the baby this week, and then the baby arrives. Like, you're always talking, always communicating. If you're in a relationship with somebody, you should be always communicating about everything. There shouldn't be a prenup for the week ahead. Now we have a prenup for the weekend. Now we have a pre-weekend agreement. Now no, just talk all the time. Respect each other's boundaries. Respect each other's processes, and support
I couldn't
each
agree
other
more.
all
This
the time.
is so good.
Every day is Valentine's Day.
Aileen Hickey, CEO of Headline, and Keith Walsh, broadcaster, because we would love to hear from you at home. So if you could get out your phone and just scan it on the screen, the QR code you will see about the baby prenup. There we go. Scan there. We're going to have a little bit of poll. Would you use a baby prenup to divide parenting duties? Let us know what you think.
No, be interested to see what I think, because they both definitely agree. I think this communication should be every day.
Yes.
But if it's not,
support and communication.
There you go.
That's it. 5 babies in 7 years.
None of which we did.
Aileen Hickey
Well
from
done.
Parentline, Keith Walsh, broadcaster. Thank you so much for coming in. That was a great laugh.
Still to come this morning, lose the beer and forget the fear. We'll be chatting to the man encouraging more people to live a life of sobriety.
Plus, we're baking berries in the kitchen, and Derek's taking a tour of Wicklow's Russborough House. We're back here very shortly.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland Day, and we have got plenty coming up, like a man off the beer and a rapping granny to fear.
First up, yes, we've got a former professional footballer. He's going to tell us about his inspiration for creating an alcohol-free community.
Very interesting, actually. And plus, we're going to be meeting the 66-year-old woman changing the game for the UK's underground rap scene. I just want to find out what the underground rap scene is in itself. She'll be showing us what she's made of at 9:20.
The world's oldest battle rapper. There you have it.
Do you have to go up against her?
No.
Does one of us have to?
No. I've watched it on YouTube. Pretty insane.
It is.
And from rap to R&B, singer-songwriter Soule will be chatting about her new single and acting debut a little bit later on.
Now it's time to go outside. What's on the menu this morning, Alan?
Yes, we have one of our favourites, we can't say favourite. Edward Hayden is here, and he's got a lovely dessert. Now, what are you making? It's not an apple crumble, you were telling me. It's a variation of an apple crumble.
Yeah, it's a lovely, I'm doing a lovely apple and raspberry crumble tart. So it's kind of marrying the two together. People might be familiar with making a tart or making a crumble in the classical way. So I'm going to have a lovely pastry base, lovely apple and mixed berry compote, and then crumble on top and baked in a tart with custard and cream.
Oh, you've got custard. I said it earlier.
His eyes lit up like a slot machine.
I said, I hope you've custard, and you have.
I know the secret.
So looking forward to that. Now, Derek is Lord of the Manor this morning. He's in Russborough House. Derek, how are you getting on?
Sounds delicious, Al, and Edward send some down to us this way. Anyway, we've landed inside the beautiful house, Russborough House and Gardens of County Wicklow's, where we're at this morning. Joan, history in the making, I suppose, here this Wednesday.
Indeed it is, and Derek, it's lovely to have you back in Russborough, and we're delighted to show you our newly restored Vernet drawing room. All 8 Vernet paintings brought back to the house, and indeed to the room for which they were specially commissioned.
For the first time in almost 100 years.
In almost 100 years, yes, so we're thrilled about it, and we've had lots of visitors.
Absolutely, and we're going to be showing you those paintings a little bit later on this morning at 8:45. Brushes at the ready, guys, we're going painting. Taking you on a tour, looks fantastic.
No better man.
Don't let him go painting the Vernet paintings. That's not a thing that's going to be happening. Time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline, no decision on long-term RTE funding until 2024, says Catherine Martin. This comment came as the station published plans for 3 separate registers for staff and presenters covering interests, outside activities, as well as gifts received.
Age limit for Gardaí to be scrapped for new recruits. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The 35-year-old age limit will significantly increase under radical proposals aimed at attracting more members to the force.
The Herald also covers this story with time to call in the old guard.
The Examiner leads with subsea cable security threat to EU. Ireland's failure to protect critical cables poses a heightened level of threat from hostile states, not just domestically, but also from the EU and NATO.
Crackdown on teacher influencers promoting in classroom. That's the top story on the Daily Mail. It's emerged that a number of teachers with large social media followings had accepted payments to promote brands and film content in schools. Minister Norma Foley urged the Teaching Council to remind teachers to avoid potential conflicts of interest.
The Mirror goes with man, woman and child killed in horror smash. 3 people died last night in another single vehicle road tragedy outside Cashel, just 4 days after 4 young people died on Leaving Cert results night.
The Star and the Sun also lead with this tragic story. And of course, as we mentioned earlier on, we are thinking about everyone who's involved in that horrible tragedy, trying to come to terms with that today.
Condolences to everyone this morning. It's just, it's just frightening and people's worst nightmare. You were also talking at 7:15, talking about the Leaving Cert. So the CAO results are out today. People will be getting text messages throughout the day. A lot of nervousness, I'd say, in a lot of people's houses.
There would be, because like a lot of people think that's my next step in my career. This is my career. What am I going to do? But we also had Amanda Brunker in, who left when at Leaving Cert. Kaylee Cashel, who didn't get her points and went on to be doing some great work in Orla.
Like, look at what Kaylee Cashel has done.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I mean, and just didn't get the points and said, what am I going to do? And look what she's achieved. I've no plan post Leaving Cert. This is from Orla. I had no plan post Leaving Cert, but glad I took my time. I ended up doing a PLC course in childcare, went on to college, and then did a master's and have been working in childcare for nearly 15 years now and loving it.
It's amazing. Like, my niece, she's doing her Leaving Cert this year. She's looking at what's going on with the points, and then my nephew, he's going to be doing it in a couple of years, and he's kind of going, might do a PLC, it might do an apprenticeship. So they're kind of going, they're realising themselves there's other options. And Simon says the pressure is immense on Leaving Cert students. They're so young graduating. Take the time to live life and decide what you want to do when you get a little bit older. But I suppose you can't just be lolling about.
I really didn't know what I was going to do when I left, when I did my Leaving Cert.
What? Yeah. You mean you weren't at home staring at the TV going, Alan Hughes reporting live, ready to go?
Oh, yes, you did.
Because I got a bad Leaving Cert.
Oh, no, I didn't. No.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't get a great Leaving Cert.
Me too. Mine was terrible. I had planned to actually give up rugby and head off to Scotland to go drinking, and ended up
for the rest of your life,
or Dublin, and I didn't get the points that I need to get into the courses. Ended up staying in Belfast and got into the academy.
Wild?
Mental how it all happened. So yeah, I'm a big believer in everything.
Whatever
happens
for you. Yeah.
Plans that you had maybe out the window. Just follow whatever path takes you, and who knows where you're going to go. We're also
We were talking about, because you're talking about plans, Vera Pauw, I'm pretty sure, was planning on sticking with the Irish team for a little while longer. And of course, last night, 6 hours FAI meeting, was it? In Abbottstown. And they have not renewed her contract. And Declan says, I've just seen the news that Vera Pauw's time as Irish manager has ended. Although I'm a rugby person, I believe the FAI board have gotten it wrong. And I'm not surprised. I would love to know the reasons for this decision, which was very interesting. Lorcan Lyon from the Communications Clinic brought it up. And he was like, if it's because she wasn't, like, there was complaints about them not taking corners and practicing or
practicing
He's
corners.
Like, if it's for that, that's a good reason. But if it's because, you know, she wouldn't let them have Kit Kat, that's not the right reason.
Yeah. Well, listen, Mary said Vera Pauw was not popular with the players, so it's right that she should go.
And do you think the FAI have interviewed the players?
Yeah, I'd say definitely.
Or they brought them all in individually and spoken to them and gone, what are your feelings on Vera and stuff like that? They have to take all that into consideration, because if the players have no respect for the manager.
Yes,
hard.
But sometimes you got to remember the manager is the boss, and it's not the play. You know, she has to make the decisions, and there's obviously a bit of a fallout between her and Katie McCabe, who is the star of the Irish team, with the whole who makes substitutions, and you know the manager has to be boss on this.
But do you think Katie McCabe's voice was heard louder than Vera Pauw's?
Well, listen to what Maureen says. And I have to say, the amount of messages we have in that are shocked at this decision, like saying Vera should still be there. Again, we're not in the room, we don't know. Maureen says, I think it's shocking that Vera's contract was not renewed. It's the FAI giving in to player pressure. Players cannot dictate who should play and who shouldn't. Ridiculous and disappointed to hear this news today.
Yeah, let us know what you think of that.
We'd love to hear from you.
We've a lot of messages, but a lot of them sticking up for Vera Pauw mainly as well. Now, we were also talking about baby prenups.
The most ridiculous thing we've talked about on this show in a long time.
But absolutely not.
So it's basically...
definitely thought about something weirder.
You sign a contract, you write up, have a conversation with your partner, decide what roles you're going to have. This is before the baby arrives, so that whenever the baby arrives, you know what your roles are, you sign it, and does it lead to conversations or whatever else? A good one, Lisa said, I'm currently 6 months pregnant, and your discussion on baby prenups has got me thinking, not saying I'm going to be drawing up a contract, but it's definitely given me food for thought on what to discuss with my partner ahead of my baby's arrival.
That is amazing.
Absolutely.
It is. Like night feeds, it's a whole new world that you're going to have, and you have to be a team.
As you were talking about it there, when the baby arrives, all that just goes out the window because you just don't know from day to day what's happening
you have to
with
be
your
willing
life.
to get say you're tiptoeing around and your partner is, she's feeding and all that kind of stuff. You have to be able to get your hands dirty, and she's got to go, you just got to get stuck in. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
That's fair enough.
So,
starts a conversation.
Exactly. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you on how you prepared for your very first child. And we do have a megaphone running. We're asking, would you use a baby prenup to divide parenting rules? Yes says 15%, no says 85%. So thank God, we all still have a little bit of common sense.
Well, that's it.
Going on.
Ursula said, what utter nonsense. How could a baby prenup possibly cover all that life of being a parent will bring?
Exactly. There's a place in New Jersey that's actually looking at trying to make this a legal thing in America.
Of course there is.
Oh, for God's sake.
Listen,
how do you enforce that?
Send us through your text messages on anything you've heard on the show today. 0896 111 111. We have an awful lot of messages. We'll try to get through as many of them as we can. Now, after the break, former professional footballer Andy Ramage is going to share how his life has changed when he adopted a sober lifestyle. There you have it,
Says your man who was heading to Edinburgh to go drinking.
Yeah. See you shortly. You're very welcome back. Now, our next guest is a former professional footballer who changed his life after challenging himself to go sober. He's now encouraging others to do the same.
Andy Ramage, you're very welcome to the show. Good morning. It's lovely to have you here. What was your relationship like with alcohol before you decided to go sober? Were you grand or was there an issue?
No, I would describe myself as a middle lane drinker. It's really important, someone that would drink averagely, sometimes moderately, sometimes heavily, sometimes not at all, which is probably about 70%
As most of us
Western population.
Think we are.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So it wasn't like I'm drinking all the time. It was like, you could go without drink or you could...
Absolutely. Was I drinking too much? Absolutely. But so's everyone in that middle lane. That's the point.
Okay, middle lane. I like that.
Yeah. So you were a professional footballer playing League of Ireland. I presume drinking was a bit of a culture in those days as well.
Growing up, wasn't it? I think for all of us. And there was periods of it I really enjoyed. And it wasn't until I got to my mid-30s that I put on a lot of weight, felt a bit unfit, unmotivated, a bit unfulfilled, inconsistent in the way I exercised, the way that I ate, that I started to question my relationship with alcohol.
Okay, so what happened?
So in that reflection, I thought, actually, well, like most people do, I tried to exercise, I tried to eat, I even tried ice baths and meditation to try and get myself back into the zone.
You're meant to be a professional athlete. This is all part and parcel of it. No, you're not meant to just try these things.
No. But the last thing I ever questioned was alcohol, because I was a middle lane drinker, and it wasn't until I sort of had that penny drop moment of, I wonder if I took a break, would I get my fitness back and my health back? And I did, and it was transformational for me. I lost 3 stone in weight. My resting heart rate went from 68 down to 42. My relationships boomed. My industry that I was in at the time said that I'd foul if I didn't continue to drink. That business boomed 7 times bigger in half the time. The results for me were just off the scale.
That's interesting about the work thing, just that you'd fail if you didn't continue to drink, because obviously you were out of sport at this stage. You were working in stocks.
As a broker, yeah, the guys in the bright jackets.
So that's sort of, it's a very hectic lifestyle, very much let's get out, let's go entertaining and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, you can't do this unless you're out drinking.
Yeah, more or less the big mentor, my hero at the time. But what I proved to all of them and to myself, that actually by being consistent and on the ball and showing up, more consistently in my career, actually it accelerated that business. It was the best thing I ever did.
So you say you're a middle lane drinker. It sounds like you're a bit more to the outside lane. Like if it had that much of an impact to lose 3 stone, like what like, how much of an impact was alcohol having on you? Like, were you having bad hangovers that was really impacting you right, like not just one day, like right through the week?
Yeah, I think most people, if you look at it, the truth is this: if you go out and have a few drinks, it destroys your sleep. We know that medically. Okay. So that hangover sort of hangs around for days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It might
Especially as you get older.
Yeah, you're a little bit tired, a bit grumpy. You couldn't quite be bothered to exercise. Your nutrition is a bit inconsistent. And for me, I wasn't being the parent that I wanted to be because maybe I didn't have the energy to play with the kids. I wasn't being the partner that I wanted to be because maybe I was being a bit grumpy. And I put that down to those couple of drinks in the midweek that made you a bit tired. It doesn't have to be excessive.
Oh, just a couple of drinks.
Big point. Yeah, I think the middle lane have probably not realised the influence that alcohol's having on them.
Yeah.
Until you take a break. That's the secret sauce to all of this.
There is sort of, like, medically now they're seeing that anxiousness, like anxiety, as you mentioned, sleep, they're all connected, and of course it can be attributed to alcohol. But you originally decided you were going to do it for 28 days, like a lot of people do in January.
Yeah.
You know, dry January. So you did 28 days, and then what happened?
I kept going. I just thought, this is incredible. And it took me a while to get started, is the truth. I found it really difficult because the social pressure to continue to drink is immense at times, isn't it? It's one of the few things when you maybe tell your friends that you're going to take a break, you get your rubber arm twisted or you get called boring and all those things. So I found it difficult to get started. But once I did, waking up 28 days later, just feeling fresh again, healthier again and fitter again. And what we now know through the research, which is incredible for middle lane drinkers who take a 28-day break from alcohol, Professor Kevin Moore, the largest ever study into this, found that people on average lost 3 kilograms in weight, reduced their liver fat, dangerous liver fat by 40%, reduced their risk of type 2 diabetes, reduced their risk of various types of cancer. And he said, pretty much quote unquote, if these benefits were found in a pill form, it would be worth billions and everyone would want it. That's the middle lane, the benefits.
Like, it is astonishing to see and for you to say that to people, because listen, I enjoy a drink. I'd say I don't drink very often, but you know, to give it up, I'd feel like my friends and my family, they'd kind of go, "Are you having a pint?" Like, what was the support like from your family or your friends?
It's been incredible. My best friends, both Irish, Lenny McAuliffe, Colin Carroll, have been nothing but brilliant support to me the whole way through. And it was a big change for them and our relationship because we'd all drink together, and especially 10 years ago.
Could you not go out with them anymore?
Oh, I go out with them all the time.
Okay.
But I don't stay as long.
Yeah, you can't.
I might do an hour and a half, 2 hours. I have the best crack, the best banter, the best bit of the night, in my opinion.
Until the night starts repeating.
Yeah, then I leave them to it.
Are you the best crack anymore, though?
I am the crack. I still have the fun, I still have the banter.
So, look, listen, I grew up with a pioneer. My father never had a drink a day in his life, and he was out longer than anyone. You know, he loved it. But I'm just wondering, for you, because things have changed so much, like nowadays, for an awful lot of my mates who are pregnant, they love a Prosecco, they love a non-alcoholic beer. They find it really... They just feel more part of it sometimes. What's that been like for you? Because obviously there's no non-alcoholic everything now.
Yeah, I mean, the game's changed completely. I've been in this for 10 years trying to inspire people to take a break. And in the last 3, with the advent of alcohol-free alternatives, I think in Ireland alone and the UK, they're up about 500%. They're everywhere. I just went on holiday to Dunmore East, which I loved. Strand Inn, the alcohol-free alternatives are flying off the shelves. Yeah. You go to Powell's, which is a traditional pub, they're flying off the shelf. You can get alcohol-free drinks on draft. I even went to the Chipper. They had 3 different types of alcohol-free alternatives. That is a revolution. It's completely changed the game completely. So I think it's allowing people to be social, to have the crack, to connect, but skip the bit that destroys your sleep and makes you a bit grumpy and a bit tired, so you can get up the next day and be even more sociable.
I still don't know whether the crack is going to be quite at the same level. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
And I don't mean going overboard. That's the problem, is that if you have too many drinks. But a couple of drinks is when people are in the best of form. And do you still think that I shouldn't be saying this, should I?
But this is good to have this conversation, because I know exactly what you mean, but is it the people that make the crack or the alcohol that make the crack? I think it's the people.
Yeah.
I think Irish people are brilliant crack, with or without alcohol. So the fact that we congregate at times in a social setting, which is the pub, and have the crack, but we have the crack everywhere. We have the crack when we see our friends at work, don't we? We have the crack with our mates.
I don't know. I do think it's kind of interesting, because obviously, and not just in this country, but in so many, there is an epidemic of alcohol issues. Mm-hmm. There are, and they're destroying families and destroying people's lives. Yeah. And we put so much stead in it to kind of go, Well, you don't have to have an issue with alcohol. Do you know? Because a lot of times,
Yeah.
like, you have to give it up because you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, no, I just feel a bit better. It's kind of a new conversation. It's a good conversation.
Yeah, for the last 10 years that I've been having, just to inspire people that it's not about problematic drinking. It's about if you're in the middle lane,
middle lane.
It's all aimed at the middle lane, take a break and have a try. Imagine it's the thing that gives you all these beautiful benefits.
I mean, that's why you have set up the campaign, the 1 year no beer. Brilliant. It starts off as a 28 days, then moves to as a 2 months, whatever else, and try to push it to a month. And then your app, Dry app as well. Like, it's amazing. Like, you're hoping to get in 10 years' time, 50% of the population to not be drinking alcohol.
Yeah, or to try dry, to take a break. And that's what I've been doing over the last 10 years. And those initiatives have helped hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people.
Right.
So I'm incredibly proud of to take a break. Because I know if people take a break and they feel fitter, faster, healthier, they save a ton of cash, they still have the crack, they still have the banter, they're much more likely to continue. And that's what Dry is all about. It's a community, it's an online app, it's free to download, DIY, and it's a collection of people from all over the globe. In the last 10 days, we've added 1,000 Irish members. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
This thing is just ballooning because...
It's just a community.
A community, we have challenges in there, so we have month-long challenges so people can take a break in there. They get live content. I'm in there every day, just inspiring people and coming together, because I think that's an important point. It's a solo mission very often, because all your friends might still be drinking. So to have a network or an online space...
I'd love to hear from people about middle lane drinkers. I suppose I've never thought of it that way before. What you make of it, or if you've tried to do it before, how did you find it for your health? 0896 111 111. It's the Dry DRYY app if you want to find out more. Andy Ramage, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Andy.
Cheers.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Oh, yes, we're outside here now, and Edward's got a very delicious dessert for us this morning.
What have you got for us, Edward?
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do is I'm kind of conflating two of people's famous favourite desserts this morning. So I'm not making an apple tart, I'm not making an apple crumble, I'm making an apple and mixed berry crumble tart. I'm going to say that with my good teeth.
Great idea. Great idea. You need 2 pages on the cookbook to get that one in.
Now, of course, my challenge for the two of you now is that you'll make this evening, as always, won't you?
But that's not going to happen. But the challenge is to watch you getting through the next 6 minutes without us having a slice of it.
Yes, of course, yeah. Well, that is the challenge. I have the wooden spoon on standby. Lest you try to break those rules.
If I was to make this tonight, is this all I need?
In theory, I've done a few little bits because obviously we've just got a limited amount of time. I have a little bit of pieces done in advance for you. So what I'm going to do is, I just moved that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make the crumble topping. Now, again, a lot of people might be familiar with just having a dish not dissimilar to this with some fruit and compote or whatever on the bottom and the crumble on top. So there's 3 elements to this recipe. There's 3 kind of composite elements.
Right.
So first of all, what I've got here into my bowl, I've just got some plain flour. So I've got about 6 ounces of plain flour.
Do that.
To which I'm going to add some brown sugar. I always use the brown sugar. I tend to think it works better for the crumble. And then I've got some butter. So I've got about 4 ounces of butter and 4 ounces of sugar in there as well. And again, just for the purposes of the television, I've put on the gloves just for pulling on and off that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to rub those together. Now, you might have heard tell of that famous phrase, until it resembles fine breadcrumbs. Now, I'm not sure if it is like fine breadcrumbs, but it is just a case of getting all of that butter rubbed into the flour.
Do you like having big bits in it, though? Because they'll get oozy and...
Yeah, I don't mind like a little bit of lumping, but I don't want big, huge bits, because what will happen is the butter won't end up giving you a really nice good finish to the top of the crumble. If you have big chunks of butter. So you see what I've done? I've started with the tips of my fingers, and then I'm just kind of starting to rub it between my hands. So we're almost there. Now, that is the kind of the crumble.
It.
Well, essentially, that is the crumble
Is that
proper.
the crumble that goes on the top?
That's the crumble that goes on the top. So that is essentially it. Now, what I'm going to do for the purposes of this recipe is I'm going to add a few bits to it. And as I always say to people when they're kind of cooking any of the recipes that we're doing here on the show, you know, make them their own at home, and that's the kind of the opportunity that they have. I've got some lovely porridge oats that I'm going to put into it. I'm also going to put in a little bit of...
Then you're ruining it by putting nuts on it.
You're not overly struck on the almonds.
Oh, I love... Do you not love the almonds?
No.
Come here, it's getting harder. One likes, the other doesn't like. The only thing I think that there's commonality is the mushrooms.
Yeah, it's the only thing. I'll eat anything apart from the mushrooms.
Now, porridge oats in there. I'm also going to put in a little hint of a tint of cinnamon, some ground cinnamon, and I have got the nuts in there as well. Okay, so that's your lovely crumble topping made. Now, if I can just tell people at home, if they wanted, if they were really kind of organised, they could have a bag of this at all times in their freezer, and whenever they wanted a small little bit of crumble, it works really well. Now, can I just walk you through the next couple of bits and pieces? I might get you to hold that there.
For,
you hold that. Now, what I've got here, again, apples are plentiful.
Is this just bought pastry?
No, Alan Hughes. Wash out your mouth. No, this is a lovely sweet pastry that I've made. So I've made that with some flour, butter, sugar and eggs. OK, the recipe is on the website.
If I wanted to buy it, what type of pastry
Now,
is it?
you won't really buy the sweet pastry. You can buy puff pastry or you can buy short crust pastry. But I'm using the kind of the sweet pastry here, and that just works really nicely. But again, the short crust would be fine.
That kind of short crust,
Then apples are really plentiful at the minute. You know, people are dropping bags of apples to your door because they're very plentiful. I've got some lovely fresh...
They're not.
Yeah. Well, listen, it would be a futile drop. Now, there'd be apples wasted. We're conscious of food waste. Now, give your apples... so I've sliced those apples into... into my saucepan with a little bit of water, some sugar, and I've boiled those onto the stew down.
How many apples is in that?
Now, in the recipe, for the recipe, you want 3 good big-sized cooking apples.
Cooking apples.
Cooking apples, yeah, absolutely. And then what I've done is I've just put in a few raspberries, or again, there's a lot of blackberries on the hedgerows still, so you could kind of go out and forage a few blackberries if you wanted as well.
If you put normal apples in it, they don't work, no?
It would work, yeah, it would work. Again, the cooking apples tend to just have a better texture for for rendering down. So put some of the lovely mixed berry crumble in there, or the mixed berry compote in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to scatter that crumble topping on the top. Now, again, what I will caution against, don't compress that down. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just barely rubbing it down there. Okay. Now, again, depending, this is really a dish of choice. Sometimes my favourite part of the crumble is the actual crumble. Some people love the fruit element of that there.
I love the crumble.
But I love the crumble. Now, again, I did say it to you at the start, but if I can just remind you, if you did want, you could just take like that apple and mixed berry mixture that we have there, put it into a dish, put some of the crumble on the top, and that would be gorgeous as well. Just to do a dish of it. Now, this is a lovely, nice 10-inch crumble. So what you can do is that goes into the oven about 30 or 35 minutes, to bake that. Now, I have some here ready to go, so Edward, I'm sure you'll have a slice of it.
How come it doesn't bubble out? I thought you see that
again,
a lot.
Yeah, now the crumble, as I said, I just brought this for spare, but if I had it in there, again, the crumble, I'd have extra fruit in this because, remember, I just had it half filled because I don't want it to kind of leak out. Whereas if I made it in a dish, I wouldn't mind it kind of coming out like that. But I want this to be nice and perfect. So you can just see that lovely crunch with that lovely pastry. Now, it's a loose-bottomed tin, so I'm just going to pop that up there for you, Tommy. And one for Mr. Hughes.
Look at that. Look, show us that there.
Where would you get it? Yeah. And then we have it. See that lovely speckling of the berries in there as well. And then I know, as I said, I've really become familiar over my time here that I must play to the crowd. The crowd being the two of ye.
Have you got the ice cream with you?
Stop the lights. What are you talking about? Ice cream.
Where's the ice cream?
I have lovely whipped cream here for you as well.
Where's the whipped cream?
Now remember, I'm not your mother.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing my best for you
now. You are when you're here.
For when I'm here. Whipped cream. Now, come here till I tell you. Apple and mixed berry crumble, custard and whipped cream. What else can I do for you now?
Edward Hayden.
I can do nothing else.
Well, let's taste it and find out.
Have a taste of that and see what you think.
Oh.
What are we thinking?
The custard's lovely.
Jesus Christ. Did you ever get a belt of a dishcloth?
Edward, it is.
And if you didn't, you should have.
That is just the crumble.
Isn't it lovely? Yeah.
Oh, the crumble is just gorgeous.
But just look into the centre of that. Now, as I said, if I was doing this, because mine is not long out of the oven, I didn't take it off the bottom of the tin. If I had like this out of the oven for a half an hour, a palette knife would just slip the base of that tin out, but just lest it fell apart on the telly, I left it on.
You want it hot, do you? You kind of want to take it out.
You can have it cold if you want, but again, there's no problem, Tommy, if you had that made at home. Now, you could have this and then slice up a slice of it this evening, just throw it back into a hot oven or into the microwave.
In the microwave.
It's absolutely perfect. And it's lovely.
Absolutely delicious. Thank you so much.
Are we calling it a hit?
Oh, it's a hit.
It's a hit.
It's a hit. Now,
Absolutely
up next,
gorgeous,
Derek
Edward.
is admiring some antiques in Russborough House. We'll see in a few minutes.
You're very welcome back. Now, Derek Hartigan is adding a bit of class to this morning's affairs.
He certainly is. He's off living his Downton Abbey fantasy. He's in Russborough House in Wicklow. Over to you, Derek.
Downton Abbey, eat your heart out, guys. Absolutely bang on the money. Welcome down here to the beautiful setting of Russborough House and Gardens here in County Wicklow this morning. I suppose we're heading back in time this Wednesday morning. Tour guide Joan Griffith is with us. Good morning to you, Joan.
Good morning, Derek. It's lovely to have you back here at Russborough.
And it's great to be back here. Now, first up, Joan, this is a beautiful room. It is a stunning setting. Tell us about the Vernay room.
Well, following years of research and months of careful redecoration, this room has been brought back to the way it was in Joseph Leeson, the first Earl of Milltown's time. So we really are stepping back in history, standing in this room.
First up, let's talk about the ceiling, Joan. Beautiful ornate work.
Magnificent ceiling. The stucco work is by a continental stucador known as St. Peter Stucador, and he worked on the dining room as well. We had several teams, or there were several teams of stucadors working on the house at the same time, and the Lafranchinis were responsible for the rooms at the back of the house.
Moving down then to that stunning chandelier, the centrepiece really of this room.
Yes, it's lovely. It's 18th century English. Very nice.
Right behind us then, Joan, some gorgeous furniture, cream in colour. Tell us about that.
Well, this is all part of a very large bridal suite. The bed belonging to it is in another part of the house. It's so big it didn't fit in the one room. And it dates back to 1794. It came from Wilson's of the Strand in London, and it was part of a large order for the Arkwright family of Willersley Castle in Derbyshire. It's absolutely magnificent.
Exquisite. And the carpet we're standing on, Joan, specially commissioned, I believe.
Yes, one of three, specially made for the house in 1952. It came from the Spanish Royal Tapestry Factory.
Now, let's get on to the artwork itself, because for the first time in almost 100 years, we have all pieces of 8 works of art fully restored to the room, which is incredible.
Oh, absolutely amazing. We're thrilled to have this. Joseph Leeson, the first Earl, commissioned 8 paintings for this room, and they all are supposed to tell the times of the day, but there are 4 specific marine scenes to go into these wonderful cartouches that are original to the house.
And we're starting off with the morning scene.
That's right, morning, afternoon, evening and night.
And these were specially painted for this room itself.
Absolutely.
There is a story behind the nighttime scene. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, interestingly, when the painting was taken down off the wall for the redecoration, it was noticed that there was quite a bit of damage at the back of it. And it turns out we discovered an ad that the second Earl of Milltown put in Saunders' newsletter back in August 1785, offering £50 for the person who slashed 2 of his paintings.
A lot of money at the time, I suppose.
A lot of money at the time. Now, we didn't know which paintings they were, but when this one, Night, was taken down off the wall, we could see the marks of where it had been slashed and partially repaired.
And they never found out who slashed it, no?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but it was a lot of money. But I don't know if they did find the person. But this was restored then by Alec Cobb, and before it was put back up on the wall.
Joan, these paintings went missing for almost a long time, in fact. Back in the 1920s, they disappeared out of the house. Tell us the story, the history behind that.
Yes, well, in 1926, the paintings disappeared out of this house. Now, we always presumed they were sold by a Lady Turton who was living here at the time. However, recent research has suggested that they may well have been stolen. But anyway, they were gone, and when Sir Alfred bought Russborough in 1952, he knew there were specific paintings for these cartouches, and so he set about searching for them. It It took him 17 years to track them down to New York, and they ended up there via an agent in an art dealer in Paris. He bought them back, and he considered it to be one of his greatest achievements while he was here in Russborough, to bring these Vernets back to the house and indeed to the room for which they were especially commissioned.
And the original cartouches as well, gold leafed.
Yes, gold leaf, exactly. 23.5 carat gold leaf on these cartouches.
And that's a local artist, by the way, restore that.
Yes, Teresa Cudahy, she was weeks working on this and she did a wonderful job. And then the shiny brown is sort of a copper dusting. And it's all absolutely magnificent. We're so excited about this and all our visitors love it.
There's lots going on here in Russborough House. Before we wrap up, tell us what's happening.
Yes, we have all sorts of events coming up. We have a car boot art fair coming up on the 17th of September. And then on Culture Night, we have the Kelly sisters here performing harp and flute. And they'll be absolutely wonderful. They're international artists now.
All online as well, Russborough House.
All online.
Thank you so much for a wonderful tour here this morning, Joan. Really, really enjoyed it. Hopefully the Vernets don't end up in the art boot sale, right? Fingers crossed they don't go missing again. Back to you guys in the studio. Love that, Joan. Stunning.
Yeah,
really, really beautiful. Stunning. Gorgeous. Look at that.
There he is. Gorgeous. Beautiful.
And he's just top of the Ireland M studio. Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
We need a few of those pictures actually on the walls here.
I tell you, we probably need them, yeah. Now, go on.
Still to come on Ireland Day, we meet the retired teacher who became one of the world's oldest rappers.
The singer Soule is dropping by to chat new music, and if she's going to be joining the Fair City cast.
Have it. Plus, we're going to be banishing the greys of autumn by adding pops of floral colour to your back garden. All to come
that in here as well.
In the final hour of Ireland Day. See you shortly.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. We're hitting the right note this hour with an R&B queen and a rapping retiree.
Yes, at 9:20, we're going to be meeting the 66-year-old woman shattering stereotypes by taking over the world of underground rap. She's a rap battle artist. Think of like Eminem
in 8 Mile.
8 Mile, exactly.
That's all I can picture her as.
Love it. If she's as good as that, I can't wait to talk to her.
We're talking to Joy Brand.
The world's oldest battle rapper.
Battle rapper. What a great name. Chart-topping R&B songstress Soule will be dropping by a little bit later on to chat new tunes and her directorial debut.
Alan is outside. Make sure our gardens are blooming gorgeous this autumn. Isn't that right, Al?
Yes, certainly, Tommy. Yeah, our gardening expert, Catherine Carton, is here.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. And Catherine, we were just saying to you, I said, but it gets to this stage of the year, you're nearly giving up. But there's still a couple of weeks that we can have the garden lovely.
Yeah, so it has been a rough gardening season, but you have a couple of weeks left, and I have some like flowers that'll give you a little bit of colour from now up until kind of October time, so you can extend that growing season.
Extend the lovely garden's colour that we have. Okay, looking forward to finding out more about that. Now, from beautiful gardens to beautiful houses, because Derek is in Russborough this morning. Good morning, Derek.
Al, we're having a proper culture vulture morning down here in Russborough House. My kind of morning down in County Wicklow. And guys, just for historical reference, historical context, this is a photo of the room that dates back to the 1960s. This is the original room, and as you can see, right behind us, fully restored to its former glory. They've done an incredible job down here in Russborough House. Well worth a visit if you're in this neck of the woods. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you very much, Derek. Gorgeous.
It is indeed.
We've missed him doing that. Gorgeous, the walls. No. Gorgeous.
He was just telling me all about the Vernets.
Yeah, we're going to get a few on the walls behind us here.
Yeah, we're going to pay for it out of his spare change from his salary.
You won't. Hello, you're very welcome back. Now, we were talking earlier on to former professional footballer Andy Ramage. He was very interesting chat. He's basically set up his new campaign is 1 year no beer. He's been sober for just around 10 years or so.
He was a middle of the road drinker. That's what he says. He's like, I didn't have an issue. I was like 70% of the population, middle of the road drinker.
And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
What do you call a middle of the road drinker?
So he didn't have a drink problem. He just enjoyed a drink. So he drinks socially and casually, like most of us. But the impact it's had on him since giving up was incredible. Fair play. Megan said I'm 130 days alcohol free. I found alcohol was causing much more bad than good and wasn't serving me. It's not an easy journey to embark on when you change your behaviour after years of doing the same thing, but it's been the best decision I've ever made.
Do you know what I loved about what Andy said earlier on when he said the benefits that he gained from it? That if there was a tablet available for those benefits, we'd be buying them and spending a fortune on it.
But sure, I know myself. Like, my anxiety is through the roof. After going, like the next day, I'm just like, oh, and I'm tired.
Anxiety the through the roof. About what? That you did something.
You've seen me on a normal day when I haven't been drinking. Can you imagine what I'm like when I like? Can you imagine it when it's like that?
Like, I'd never be anxious about stuff that I did the night before.
Because you're Alan Hughes. You should be. Derek says 2 years ago...
I close the curtains, lock the door.
2 years ago, I decided to take a break from alcohol for 6 months, and I have not had a drink since June 2021. I've lost weight, I feel better, and have more money in my pocket. I now plan to stay off alcohol for good because of the benefits that I'm seeing. Fair play, Derek.
And Sonia just says, why does it all have to be all or nothing when it comes to alcohol? I think everything should be enjoyed in moderation. People should know their limits in drinking, but that is what he said, that he was drinking in moderation. He was a middle of the road.
Why did he give it up then? If he was just drinking in moderation, what made him decide?
He was overweight. He was feeling lethargic. He didn't think he was being the father that he could be because his energy levels were down, and he just went.
And when you went 28 days, January,
and he was like, "Oh, my energy levels are completely different." So he said, "Oh, this is a good thing for me." So thank you for all of those messages.
Very interesting.
We were also talking about Vera Pauw. Obviously, this is the big news going on at the moment. A 6-hour contract in a 6-hour meeting in Abbottstown last night, and they have not renewed. FAI have not renewed Vera Pauw's contract. Paul says, "I'm not a fan of the FAI, but on this occasion they made the right decision. Vera Pauw's team choice and tactics were too negative. As with most Irish team managers, they do well in qualifying and then change tact and become more defensive at a major tournament."
Yeah, but then somebody else says it was a wrong decision. I can't believe the news about Vera Pauw, a brilliant manager bringing the Irish team to the World Cup. Such an achievement, and it was such an achievement for us.
Yeah, I mean, and to question Vera Pauw's tactics and you know, like, she got them to this World Cup, like, out of nowhere. Like, what an achievement.
But you know, when we watch the Olympics and there's someone there on the floor doing gymnastics, the next thing, oh, they didn't land that double. We're all experts, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And listen, Paul probably is an expert, and maybe they were a little bit too negative, but they were in a group of death. So she thought, if we're going to try have any chance of finish second in the group, we need to defend. And it's maybe Jack Charlton back in the days. We just put teams under pressure.
That's what he did.
Catch them on the break. Exactly.
But then I suppose we wanted to see more of Amber Barrett up front. You know,
I mean, but people like, oh, we want to play sexy football, but like, unfortunately, we don't have the team. It doesn't look like,
the Irish or maybe not. Known for being sexy, Tommy. Come on.
And listen, I do think that, you know, and you see the rugby team at the minute, and everybody waxing lyrical about Andy Farrell and what a great team environment he's created. But listen, it could go to the World Cup and it could all come crumbling down. I mean, we do not have great records.
We do not have great records when we go to those big championships. Sure, we don't know.
Such a lovely teddy bear. I love him. Anyway, go on.
Who?
Andy Farrell. He looks like a big teddy bear.
Oh.
Okay.
He's not. There's nothing little about him. He's monster.
We were also talking about baby nuptials, and this is where you sign a baby nuptial agreement between both parents to decide what chores you would do when the baby arrives.
In America.
I can't believe this is even a thing. Andrea said, a baby nuptial, people need to get into the real world. You're in a relationship. Your word is now that the little person who depends fully on you, and you are the adult. You decide to have the baby grow up and parent, or don't have kids.
There you have it.
There you go.
Listen, I think what they're saying is
responsibility.
signing out responsibilities is, but it does create conversation.
But Andrea said that she managed 6 kids. She worked full time, as did my husband. We pulled together and we got on with it.
And an awful lot of it is because maybe one person is doing more than the other. And, you know, if along gender lines, and that's why they're doing it in America. You both did it together, which is lovely. Thank you for all of those messages.
Well done.
And Alan thought it was the most stupid thing we've ever talked about in ages on this show.
Ever.
We're going to top it tomorrow, no doubt.
What's going on tomorrow?
I don't know.
It's Thursday.
Still to come, we're meeting a woman who found a new start after 60 as a battle rapper.
Tune in after the break.
I'll see you in a minute. Now, when this former primary school teacher turned 60, she pledged to try 60 new things.
Now, at 66, she is the world's oldest battle rapper, facing off against opponents from all across the globe. Please welcome Joy France. Good morning to you, Joy.
Morning. Good morning. unless you can prove it otherwise, I think I'm the oldest. I can't find anybody who does at my age of anywhere in the world. So I'll hold that title till somebody takes it from me.
Well, congratulations to you on that title and fair play to you. Explain to me, though, how do you go from being a primary school teacher to becoming a battle rap artist?
I didn't wake up one day and think, you know, I'm going to be a battle rapper. It was a series of events that led to it, because the first part of my life till my mid-50s, I was extremely shy, extremely quiet, and I wanted to be invisible. So it's been a life of two halves. And yeah, in my mid-50s, I discovered performance poetry and started winning slams and doing festivals. And yes, I sort of ended up being a battle rapper. As you said, I had a list of things that people had suggested when I turned 60. And then each year I carry on doing as many new things as I am, as old I am. So I'm trying to do 66, 67 this year. And one of them ended up being battle rap.
This is, we always hear about, you know, these lists and everything, but to see that it has effectively changed your life. Can I ask you, because we're just sitting here, he was just singing Lose Yourself very badly a second ago, M&M's from 8 Mile. When I think of battle rap, that's what I think of. I think of 8 Mile. Is that what it is?
Can be very much like that, very aggressive, very intense, very testosterone-fueled, in a big crowded room. But equally, it can be in a park, people just having a cipher, as you know, which I've actually done in Dublin before now. So yeah, but it is, the battles themselves are very brutal.
But are you saying there, so there'll be someone you go in through, it's like a round thing, so one person against one person, one person goes through, one person goes through, they go against each other. And it's often, as we say, it's a battle, so you might know who you're going up against. You have to come up with stuff.
Yeah, I always do the ones where I battle, usually 3 rounds, somebody who I know and I can prepare for, I can dig the dirt, I can decide how I'm going to rip the head off and how I'm going to intimidate them, you know, whether it's humour or with being, you know, bigging myself up and putting, there's lots of different forms. And yes, I do the sort that you can have some prep time, but then you've also got to try and freestyle and rebuttal if they've said something or they're wearing something ridiculous. But yeah, it's
incredible. I watched a clip of it on YouTube last night. It is brutal and intimidating as well, in front of so many people, face to face with the other battle rapper. Tell us, like, what was it like? You know, when someone puts down these sort of list of things to do and to tick them off, it's all great saying it, but what was it like actually turning up for your first rap battle?
At first I was terrified, and particularly because I had the documentary crew that's Northern Heart Films were making a short documentary about my attempt to be a battle rapper, to do it once. And so Joy and Sense, if you watch it, you can see the fear in my face, and I'd gone red, and, you know, because I was stepping into an unknown world that I thought was everything I hated. And as though every time I get somewhere, even now, the security on the door say, "Oh, sorry, love, you come to the wrong place. You know, the bingo's round the corner," or whatever it is, because there's nobody like me, looking like me, that's in that room at all.
And the people, you said that just there, the people that you come up against mightn't be someone who was in your sphere before. I suppose when you think about battle rap, you might think that it's quite macho, that it is a very male space. So who are the sort of people that you meet and that you've made friends with?
I've made friends with so many people, because away from battles, it is a beautiful scene. And particularly in Ireland, they've wrapped their arms around me, and I've got so many friends over there from, because I've done 2 battles in Dublin. And, you know, I actually, after my first battle that's covered in the documentary, I then said, when I was asked to battle in Ireland, I said, I need you to find me an opponent who will really scare me. It's one of your finest. And they battled a guy called Raptha, you know, Dean, who is arguably, is certainly the top 2, if not the best battler in Ireland. And to be fair, he was really good. But afterwards, he did say that he was really impressed that I stared at him all the way through. I smiled, I listened to everything, I took everything he had to give me, and I didn't flinch.
And did you give it back as good as you got?
I did. That's the whole point. If I'm not doing that, because originally I wanted to just do it just once and run away. But then I've fallen in love with the scene and the art form, and it is an art form, and you're entertaining the crowd, but you can't choke. You've just got to keep talking, and you've got to keep going. And so it's very intense.
And what does your, because I know that, like, is one of your good mates now, Skull the Mad hat, sort of covered in tattoos. Look, there we go. Here's some of your mates.
Yeah.
Like, is your
best friends.
Is your child, when your kid, when you come home, you're like, look at me best friends, love. Like, it's very unexpected,
People
one would assume.
Because I do so many unexpected things out, none of my friends and family bat an eyelid. She said, oh yeah, that's fine, you know. I mean, so currently somebody from the battle rap scene is teaching me to DJ. Now, I might be rubbish at it. That's fine, I found out. Might be good at it. I might put an event on. Yeah. Who knows? But nobody bats an eyelid when I tell them what I'm up to next.
It is about perception, isn't it? Like judging a book by its cover, essentially, is what we all do.
Both ways. Yeah, people are rethinking. People like me, particularly women who get older, become very invisible, and no way am I invisible at the moment. But equally, I judge them by their appearance and what I assumed was in the battle was going to be in the community, which it isn't. It's a really, oh, that's me battling Hulk. Yes, that's, John Bullett's picture. That is one of my favourite pictures that I was really schooling in.
I mean, that's taken. Looks like the teachers used to talk to me back in the day.
100%. It's so good.
Like, so do you know who gave you the idea to do rap battle? Who put that down as something on your list? Do you know who it was?
It was. I'm based in Athlete's Palace in Manchester. People might know if they ever go to Manchester. It's where all the alternative people go, all the tattoo artists and all things like that. And I was their creative in residence. And this young lad gave me the privilege of reciting for me a poem he'd written and nobody had ever heard before. So I did a poem back for him, and he laughed afterwards and said, "That's not poetry, that's rap." And his friends said, "You should do rap," and he said, "No, she should do battle rap," and they both laughed. So it just went on a list. Yeah. And the idea is, it was like an itch that I kept thinking, what could I do it? Would I be able to do it without put my cap on backwards and going, yo, and, talking all streets? But I could go and do it under my name with my voice. And, well, I did. I had a battle against Blunt Ted, and who I thought was everything I hated. And turns out he's such a lovely guy. We're friends. And, yeah, it's just been a surprising. You find magic when you don't just stick with the people who look like you and have done the same as you. If you take a few risks, it's amazing what can happen.
It's so wonderful. Again, what we think of the people that you are finding friendship with, and again, as you said, women get invisible as they get older. It is so fantastic. But I think we have to see some of your skills. And I know that you like to do a little bit of homework, and you've very much got the school mistress's finger out. So I'm just wondering, do you have anything for our Tommy or our Alan or something like that?
I need a couple of notes. It's just off the cuff, and I've just scribbled something down, so I've not memorised it, but you'll get an idea of what, the sort of thing that I might, the sort of angles I might go for if I would battle them. So shall I give you a taste?
Joy France, take it away with your rap battle for Tommy and Alan.
Okay, this is a rap battle, not a comedy roast. Joy France, I'll turn you to toast, because Alan Hughes and Tommy Bow is a taster, and I'm going to take on you both. So Tommy, you're a famous sportsman, but after all, your head is shaped just like a rugby ball. And I'm not saying all players are stupid and thick, but when you bend to tie your laces, your head gets drop kicked. And I can't take anyone seriously who's known as Sammy Sausage, who has all the charisma of a cold bowl of porridge. Guys, the best you mean mediocre. You've not met my expectations. Where are your so-so skills of TV presentation? You're as current and relevant as One Direction, and with all the charm, all infected. Obviously, I'd wrap it better, but there's some of the angles that I must go on first.
Joy, that was a joy.
We've been roasted. Fair play. We've been roasted.
I honestly didn't expect you to go for the...
Obviously, in battle rap, you just have to use whatever you can, but it makes you better friends with the person that you're battling with. They don't take it seriously at all. It's like, it's all...
I'm trying to think of something.
Hi, rugby ball head. Are you all right?
Joy France. That was pants. No. I'm not going to do it.
Joy France. People can find Joy France Words on Instagram, and there is a wonderful documentary on YouTube.
Yeah, as well. And Joy Uncensored on YouTube has just been gone up as part of the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And I don't know what the original people of hip hop would have thought, that it was the 50-year anniversary was going to be marked by me going up on my documentary going up online.
It was excellent.
Fair play. It has been wonderful chatting to you, Joy France. Thank you so much, and all the best with everything.
Thank you very much. We've Plenty more coming up here in Ireland over the next hour. Roasted.
Rose, are you okay, Sammy Sausages? Oh, he's fine.
See you after the break. Now, get your chrysanthemums out because autumn is only 2 days away.
Patrick Garden is here to show us how to keep your garden colourful. Good morning to you. And we were chatting, chrysanthemums. We were chatting to you earlier on, and I was saying that, like, you come to start of September and you think the garden's done.
No, I keep going until the clocks change.
Yeah.
Keep going. So yeah, I have a couple of plants here that if you have any gaps in your flower borders, or if you want to do like a container that will add a bit of colour up until kind of October time, these are plants that will fill in those gaps for you in the garden.
Okay, so what would be the best flowers? Are we going into a garden centre or whatever else?
Speaking
What
of
should we be
garden
looking for?
centres, you're probably going to start to see loads of these popping up, and these are your chrysanthemums.
Oh, chrysanthemums.
So you'll see.
Right, okay.
You'll see a lot of these
write it down.
popping up in the garden centre. Now, they are great, and they will keep going until like after October if you just keep like deadheading them.
Oh, you deadhead those ones. Right,
a lot of people like get them and they're like, oh, I only got it and it's starting to die, but just keep popping off the deadheads on it. Great in a pot or like a front of a border. They're great for cut flowers. The one thing about them is they're not frost hardy, so that's why I keep them in a pot, because if we get like, I don't know, maybe like Halloween,
Cold spell
early November, they do have to be overwintered, so do take them inside. Some people will have these as an indoor plant as well.
Okay. All right.
But overwinter them and they will come back next year, but they are quite tender.
Do they flower in the summertime, or are they only coming out now
They'll
at
be
this round?
foliage in the summer.
Okay.
There are varieties that will flower early, but these ones will
So
generally
they're only
start
starting to come out now, like August, late August,
late
September.
August, September. I have one in my garden from last year and it's just foliage. So
Okay.
another couple of weeks and I'll have some flowers on it. So this is a garden centre one.
So
for the
chrysanthemum is
still
one.
foliage hasn't even
Still
flowered
foliage will
yet.
flower, yeah.
Oh, wow.
What other
Okay.
flowers?
So Rebecca is one of my fave. So I have this one here. They're also common name is called
The
Black
yellow
Eyed
one
Susan.
here. These ones.
Yeah,
they're lovely.
Known
They
as a
are
cone
gorgeous.
flower. So I have some of them in my garden and they started flowering like a couple of weeks ago. But they will keep going up until kind of, October, November. And they actually look really nice over winter if you leave the seed heads on them for the birds and for insects. So they do look nice when they start to die back. So you can leave them go to seed and then cut them back in springtime and then they'll go again.
Leave it till springtime before you cut them back.
Well, I do just because I like to leave. So see the likes of echinacea as
Yeah.
well. That has a lovely seed head, and as the nights start to get darker, you're going to get less growth. But over winter...
So is that the seed head there?
Yeah.
So the flowers would just fall off and that remains?
And it'll start to dry out. But over winter, insects will actually use this to hibernate in. The birds will actually feed from it, so you'll see... so you're just giving them something to eat over winter.
Now, should we be buying flowers for the next couple of weeks or the next 2 months that, I mean, we're not going to get as much sunshine?
Yeah.
So is there plants that will need a lot of sunshine, don't get them?
Well, I do have a shady plant, a shady loving plant. So in here, I have a heuchera. Now, this one is generally evergreen. So a lot of people will buy it this time of year because of its foliage, because you'll start seeing them in garden centres. Yeah, you can take it out.
Oh, a heuchera.
Heuchera.
Okay.
So you'll start seeing these in lovely autumnal colours. They love the shade. They will
Yeah.
tolerate if you have it in a sunny spot in a container. But a lot of people will put these on the edge of a border or in a
Okay.
container as your spiller. And they add like a lovely bit of foliage.
Nice colour as well. Well,
so
kinda
you will
dark.
see them used in displays this time of year, but they are actually evergreen.
Okay. So do they all need, are they all frost hardy? Obviously these ones aren't, or these ones aren't, the chrysanthemums, but are the other ones kind of...
Yes, they will come back next year and they're hardy, so they won't die over winter. So anytime I go to garden centre, if I'm spending money on plants, I want to buy a perennial.
Yeah.
I want it to come back.
Definitely.
So if you want to keep everything flowering over the next couple of weeks, just keep going out deadheading. I do it in the morning with a cup of tea and keep deadheading.
Are there plants then that just won't come back again?
Yeah, they're annual. So, for example, this one here, that's an osteospermum. So these are
So
annual.
once they die, that's it,
They've
throw it
one
away.
growing season, yeah. So you can
Okay.
let them go to seed.
These ones here.
And the likes of these, if you keep deadheading these, so this was actually, they're on the go since like May.
Yeah, right. So you get the whole summer out of it, but then once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah, like sunflowers. So sunflowers are annuals, and I have a plant here that is actually known as a false sunflower, Heliopsis, this one here.
Okay,
so it looks like a sunflower, but it's actually a perennial, and it'll come back again next year.
Okay, because I have a sunflower out front of my house is dead, so I just throw it out now.
Yeah, let it go to seed, and then the birds will enjoy the seeds.
And what about hydrangeas and stuff? Because they're still very much in bloom at the minute. Geraniums are still like deadheading them.
Everything you have in the garden that's like non-late summer flowering, just keep deadheading everything to keep it going. And then naturally, come kind of October time, you can kind of see the nights are starting to draw in and get a bit darker. Growing will slow down.
Because with the hydrangeas, they start to die. Is there a time to cut them back? Like, do you do that autumn time or winter or next spring?
I do it in spring because hydrangeas actually, if you leave the flowering heads on them over winter, it protects it from frost, because the frost with them can actually get down into the stem. So I generally leave everything go to crap over winter, and then spring, give it a nice shot. Just give it on.
Guys, just wanted to ask you, because I bought a load of plants start to the summer, but with July being so wet, they've just died because I have them in pots. Too much water. There's just too much water. Is there anything we can do, even with the ones that are remaining, to try and get the last? Will I put stones at the bottom of it or something?
So you can get pot feet, and a lot of people use them in...
what do you get?
Pot feet.
Pot feet?
Yeah, so you're raising the pot off the ground, so you're allowing more drainage to get out. A lot of people do it like in winter, they'll raise up their pots to help protect it from frost. So pot feet, you can use blocks of wood or anything you kind of have.
Yeah, because some of them have died because they were just soaked.
And is there a good location or kind of better soil to put stuff into?
You can mix horticultural grit. So actually, I have a bit of, hang on, I get my hands mucky. So I have some like muck here. So I've mixed in like a bit of grit. So see the way that compost is quite soggy on its own. If you mix in a bit of grit, you're going to get a bit more drainage.
Okay. Quickly, can I just ask you, lavender, because that's everywhere in people's gardens. When do you cut? Like, what do you do? Cut that back now?
Once it's finished, if you have one that's still flowering and the bees are on it, leave it.
Yeah.
Because some will flower at different times, but generally now cut it back to the new bit of growth on top and do
Catherine,
that now.
always a pleasure and looks gorgeous. So we're going to get another 6 or 8 weeks.
Until the clocks change.
The clocks change.
My garden is still this bright.
Thank you so much.
Catherine Carton. Fantastic. Up next, singer-songwriter Soule is going to chat about performing alongside Westlife and the Sugar Babes.
We're going to be back in a few minutes. Stay with us.
You're very welcome back. Now, our next guest is an R&B artist at the centre of Ireland's music scene, which is pretty damn good, hitting 15 million streams on Spotify recently.
Huge. As well as that, feature recently performed as Westlife's opening act in front of tens of thousands of people. No doubt you may have seen her. Soule is taking the music world by storm. Before we chat to the wonderful Soule, let's take a look at some of her biggest hits.
Boy, stop. Calling will get you nowhere. Sending me dreams away. I'm not the one boy fix up. Oh, no. What do you know? 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 I don't wanna lose focus. You're everything I need in the moment. Why? You're the only one I roll with. You let me be myself, don't control it. If I wanted somebody, would you be that somebody? You let me be myself, don't control it. Choose me. Pick it up, pick it up. In my zone, don't stop, boy, keep it up. Pick it up, pick it up. In my zone, don't stop, boy, keep it up. Pick it up, pick it up. In my zone, don't stop, boy, keep it up.
That is a brand new song from Soule. It's called Pick It Up, and we're just talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Because you directed that.
Yeah, I did.
And you shot it on an iPhone.
On my iPhone 13.
Get out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I edited it on Final Cut and CapCut. So
those apps that people use for Instagram.
Yeah.
So come here to me. Why? Because I know that, remember Selena Gomez did her Lose You
Yes,
to
I
Money.
remember.
She did that
Yeah.
on Apple as a big part of an ad campaign, and it was amazing.
And
did you say, I just want to get a video done?
I think because I'm like independent now, like I have no manager, no label, and I was like, it would be cool to try and do something DIY. And I think a lot of artists, that's how they started doing DIY stuff and figuring out on your own. And it was a cool experience, and to get to shoot it in my hometown Balbriggan, at the beach. I'm like, why not? You know, like natural beauty as well. So why not? So
Are you going to give your sister any
Oh,
credit?
yeah, she shot the
did
video.
she do it? Did
she
she?
did. Yeah. She shot the video. We had a few like video bombers in the video, as in like, you know, people were like trying to like get in the video, so it was hard to edit them out. But it was fun. Like I really enjoyed it.
Some poor fella just walking his dog in the background. What am I doing in that video?
And it was during the summer as well, even though it doesn't look as summery, but like there was like people at the beach, and I was like,
Unfortunately, that's an Irish
it's one
summer.
of those things,
Picked the wrong summer to pick for that one. The second song, of course, was Body as well. You wrote that with Cian de Crow.
Cian de Crow,
that blew up as well. Like amazing success, and what success he's having.
He's
also
killing it.
What was the kind of songwriting process between the two of you like?
It was amazing. I mean, that was the first time we ever met. It was at a Spotify songwriting camp that they had organised in Camden Studios in Dublin.
How weird is that?
I know, right? It was so like random, but the thing I loved about it was I'm a sucker for collaboration, and I love collaborating with different Irish artists, so it was really cool to meet him. And then the first time we meet, we created Body, so you know, it was a win-win. So
Pretty
it
good.
was cool.
Pretty.
Cool.
Do you not
And
even
now he's-
bond? Like, to think that you just met each other.
Yeah.
And, like, do you have your own ideas for it, and you kind of just...
And of course, we had Mo Denebi, who was a producer of it. So it was like the three of us in the room together under like 4 hours. And we never re-recorded the vocals. So the vocals that you guys get to hear from Body was from that exact one session. We never redid it.
You're such a Celine Dion. Do you know what I mean? What a wonder. Let's go. It was, I think, for an awful lot of people, there was a very festival atmosphere in the Aviva when Westlife took over. You did get the phone call to be their opening act. Then Sugar Babes were going on. Then the lads.
Yeah.
Come on. That's a good phone call.
The best phone call ever, because I was in London. I was doing studio sessions and back and forth songwriting, you know, and I got a call from my agent, and he was like, the lads want you to open for them. And I was like, they want me? It wasn't like somebody else. He was like, no, they specifically said they want you to do it. And that was probably the best thing ever, and such a boost in confidence for myself as an artist too. So that was cool.
Huge boost. And like performing in front of so many people, and to see like the kind of visualising like this is what I am going to be doing. And to go from that then to acting in Fair City.
Yes.
Debut on that, is that something that you thought, like, how did that go? Did you enjoy it?
It's funny because I mentioned it one time in an interview, and I was like, I want to get into acting, you know. I'm not just like a singer, I also want to act, I want to do other things as well and express myself creatively. And I mentioned that, and they were like, we'd love for you to come on. We feel like you have it, and you already do music videos, and technically you do act in your music videos, so why not actually have a script finally?
And you played yourself?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Which is kind of an honour,
Yeah, no,
isn't it? Prince played himself in New Girl, you know what I mean?
But the scary things was having lines and not like you're trying to remember them, and you're like, don't mess up, but they were so amazing.
Okay, Had you done much acting?
Yeah, so I started off doing musicals.
Okay.
And I've been in plays before, so nothing TV, but anything on stage. I've done plays and musicals and stuff like that.
So what do we have? We've got The Tonight Show, we've got Love Island,
Yes.
we've got What You Want from Virgin Media. Just say it out and we'll see if we can get it sorted.
Ireland AM.
Ireland AM. Good city here beside himself.
I just want to, you know, my goal was always, I always said I just want to do something great in Ireland, and as an Irish musician and an Irish creative, like just getting the support and love from Irish media has just been amazing. So yeah.
And listen, there is something special about Ireland and Irish women and Irish music in general. You're going to be in Electric Picnic as well as part of the Irish Women in Harmony.
Yes.
Like that's going to be special.
I am so excited. I'm pretty sure everybody can see like how excited I got when you mentioned that, but it's going to be amazing. We're on Sunday. Main stage is crazy.
Wow.
45-minute set, Sinead O'Connor tribute. We're doing medley, like pop medley, like of big Irish songs. So it's going to be cool.
I'm just trying to think what you're
going to do.
Dreams
as well. So that's
the one that brought you together, Dreams by the Cranberries. But there's the 18 of you are going to be on stage.
Yes, on stage.
With a band.
With a band.
And you haven't had an in-person
rehearsal.
Yes, the first
Not
one is
yet.
tomorrow.
The first one is tomorrow.
This is going to be so
but we've
good.
all gotten our lines. Everybody, that's the beauty of it. Like, we're all super professional. Everybody knows exactly what their lines are and their harmonies. So, yeah, it's going to be cool.
Well, we've seen what you can do with Cian de Crow in just, 4 hours. So I'd say, listen, getting together for that, that is going to be...
I'm so excited.
that's going to be the biggest of the weekend.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
I know, main stage at Electric Picnic.
It's crazy.
I assume you don't have to camp.
No.
No, can you imagine getting out of the tent that morning, sogging, going, yeah, let's go on the main stage, lads.
And tell us, like, with all this going on, anything else coming up that
I have new music coming soon. October, I want to drop a new single and just more shows, more opportunities, and I'm hoping to just continue doing what I do. And thank you guys for having me in the first place.
It's our pleasure.
Honestly, I think you're one of the most talented people we have. It's pop banger after pop banger. If you don't know Soule's music, go back to the back catalogue. It is so good. You'll be dancing around your kitchen. It is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much, Soule.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
And best of luck. Exactly. Electric picnic.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Now, coming up on tomorrow's show, actor Roisin Gallagher is going to stop by for a chat about her latest Belfast-based series.
Plus, we'll have the latest on what to watch in the cinema and, of course, streaming.
And we're going to provide you with top tips to make the most of, well, if you're trying to get organised for all that back-to-school mayhem that's starting. We'll see you tomorrow.
Back-to-school organisation should mean last week, surely, no?
Well,
I mean, they're back.
Very organised.
Now, if you want to celebrate the kids being back to school, enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.